today we have with us Laurie Wang, an ex-Googler, award-winning digital marketing educator who helped businesses figure out how to get people to click, sign up, and buy. It is an absolute pleasure to have you with us here today, Laurie. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me, Carm. It's great to be here.
Oh, ex-Googler. Tell me about that. How did you get into Google? Did you study marketing and tech, or how did that come about? Was that the dream job?
Well, actually, my path wasn't exactly straightforward. And I started off in the industry that's very traditional. As you know, with any kind of Asian American families that grew up in the US, you kind of want to make sure that your kid has a very stable future. So my parents were pushing me towards, either finance, law, or accounting. And I went into finance, actually. And from that point on, I realized within 5 years or so that the job wasn't exactly right for me. And my passion wasn't really there. And I feel like I want to do something much more tangible. And I realized back in university, I always had this kind of nagging feeling and really kind of interested in that marketing area, but never actually pursued it. And funny enough, a friend of mine was posting about his job on Facebook, and he was working for a digital agency at the time, which, to be honest, 10, 20 years ago, that was a very, very new area. And, we had maybe
huge. And like, I'm so excited to hear you say marketing, because I really wanted to do that, but I did feel like that was like a real job. It felt like a fun thing. So yeah, and then what happened?
Exactly. Yeah. Like you said, marketing felt like too fun to be true, right? To actually have that as a career path. And I saw that he was having a lot of fun at this digital agency, doing all the different campaigns for clients. Back then, very, very small scale, because, Facebook was just coming out and Twitter was just around, like, very simple as what it was. So we didn't have all the choices that we have now in terms of the different digital marketing platforms and options. So I was just reaching out to him and said, I'd love to find out more about what you do. And then that led to a meeting over here in London with one of his colleagues in the London office. And then 4 months later, they were looking for someone with a finance background to actually look after their financial clients, but from a digital marketing perspective. So I took a huge step back and basically started from the beginning again, working for people 5 years younger than me. But I loved it ever since then.
Wow. Okay. So what made you leave?
Yeah, so I actually got promoted quite quickly within about 8 months because of my, professional experience, having dealt with clients before, and I saw the potential in me. And I really rose to the ranks very quickly and learned a lot on the job, which is something I'm forever grateful to today. And then actually, Google was launching this UK digital marketing training program for small businesses around the whole entire country. And I thought the initiative sounded amazing. It's something that I always wanted to give back to the community in terms of what I learned so far. And I thought, why not jump in to kind of start getting my, getting wet in terms of like start training people on what I do. So that really started off all this entire training aspect of my business now, even post Google, because the fact that I realized during that time, this is actually where my true passion was, in the sense that we can take all this amazing digital marketing knowledge, get small businesses, solo entrepreneurs, individuals to use this to level up their own personal brand, their own businesses, right? Because a lot of this knowledge isn't actually complicated. It's more about how do you simplify it to make it easy to understand, and they can start action on it straight away.
It's kind of funny how you say it's not complicated. It's like there's so many moving pieces going on. Like with AI, like it's like now there's like so many new things, and I'm just watching this thing. I'm like, I don't even know what to focus on, like as a small business owner. I know you're pretty big in YouTube, like that's one of your focal points, and I'm like, I probably have like 3 followers in there or something, so I saw your milestone recently, so congratulations on the 10K in YouTube. How long did that journey take, and what would you say was the main thing in the growth? Did you recently found out like something that really worked and that helped the growth, or what was that like?
Yeah, definitely. Great question, Carms. I actually started quite a few years ago on YouTube initially. And this was a kind of a stumble into it kind of way, because a client of mine was really confused with how to install Facebook Pixel for their Facebook
God,
ads.
I had so much trouble with Facebook Pixel. I literally spent 3 days last week on Facebook Pixel. I'm like, why is it not working? I was like, I was literally going crazy. Yeah, I'm one of those people.
Yeah, definitely. I feel your pain. I feel your pain. I think sometimes they do make it a little bit more complicated than it should be. And so I had to show her step by step. But because she wasn't physically in my area, I recorded a video of me doing that on screen using Loom and basically just put it onto YouTube for her to see it. And I didn't make it into a private video. I just thought put it on there, whatever, right? But after about maybe 2-3 months, I realized that video started getting some traction because people clearly are Googling on how to install your Facebook Pixel the right way. And obviously coming from a Google perspective, my background, I realized, why not starting doing more videos like this where it could help people in different things that they could do within the digital marketing area. And that just kind of slowly grew over time. I wasn't intending on becoming a content creator. I always joke about this, how I stumbled into a YouTuber path, even though I was actually building out my digital marketing training company. And then from that point on, I wasn't doing it very consistently at the time because I was just, whenever I had a chance, I might record a quick video, put it on there. It was really post the pandemic when I had my daughter. And during that year, I had a time to kind of really take a step back and looking at my business from a holistic perspective. And I started seeing other individuals. I'm not sure you heard of him, Ali Abdal, for example.
Oh yeah,
who
for
had
sure.
built a huge.
I was following him like early when he was like earlier in his journey, and he just shot up so quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, that really comes back into the power of consistency. And he was just making videos every week when he could have, coming out of his junior doctor's job whenever he had time. And to see that, I was thinking, if he can definitely do that and seeing how he actually had that amazing growth over time, building an audience that believes in what he does and really champions him in terms of, how he can actually continually help them to create a life that they love. I thought that would be something great for me to start disseminating my digital marketing knowledge on YouTube to help those who are not in my local area, but maybe around the world. So that really kind of started from there. And I thought, why not just do it one step at a time? Just do one video a week so you can actually continue that. And it was a little fun challenge for myself. And funny enough, I think pat on the back, I somehow managed to do that, especially now raising my daughter who's almost 3. I think that was something that I was a bit surprised by because consistency is always something that's very difficult, especially when you're working, in your business, when you're trying to maintain a family life. But yeah, so that's been quite fun to see that growth over time. And I think with YouTube, really, even though the majority of that growth came in the last 6 months or so, so half of my 10,000 or so subscribers came in the last 6 months, that really was actually the accumulation effect of all the different videos I've been doing on a consistent basis every week on YouTube. And I think really YouTube rewards that in the sense that their algorithm sees your channel as one of those, I guess, regularly published type of content channels. And then they will push your content in front of more people who are in that specific area or industry. I think the entire social media landscape is really shifting because what we used to have is essentially someone will go onto a social media platform, build out, let's say, a large amount of following, and then all their followers will see their content on an ongoing basis. But what's shifting nowadays, actually, for everyone who's listening, and I hope that this motivates them, is that we're moving into a content-based platform. And what that means is that if, let's say you have 10 followers, right? Like you joked earlier about YouTube, for example, or like on TikTok or Instagram, if your content is really good and engaging, that will actually be pushed by the algorithm to be shown in front of more people. And someone with 3 followers on TikTok, for example, could have a video going viral with 1 million views. And that's the new landscape we're in now. And actually, it's really beneficial for smaller creators, for smaller entrepreneurs, brands to actually start pushing on that content front. And I really believe in investing in your content as much as possible early on.
Wow. Okay. There was a lot there. So we're saying number 1, consistency. 2, valuable content. In that if people are watching it from, say, start to end, like YouTube will value that, right? And probably most of the platforms now. What do you think is that optimal time though? Because you know how, like, say, Instagram or TikTok, YouTube Shorts is kind of like that 1 minute-ish thing, right? Because we can't get people's attention. When it comes to YouTube, being in a longer form one, how long do you feel it needs to be, or does it not matter as long as it's like valuable content?
Yeah, so I would say more towards the second part, and you'd be surprised about that, right? So there are videos on YouTube, for example, that's an hour-long webinar on a particular topic. But because that hour-long webinar is so valuable, people will actually watch it the majority of the way through. And watch time is a huge factor on how your videos will get shown on YouTube, because obviously they have an incentive for individuals to stay on the platform as long as possible. So if your video actually getting lots of people to stay and watch it, which is, by the way, one of the hardest things to do in terms of long form content, for someone to actually have the patience to sit there and watch a long form video that way. It could go from, let's say, 8 minutes, for example, which is the average, I would say, long form content on YouTube nowadays, could be low as 5, but whatever length that is that within that time period, can you disseminate and package your knowledge or whatever you're talking about in that topic in the most efficient way that people do get the information they need and they want to watch it to the end? I think that's the key question here.
I love this because in a way, it's like a real test of communication. Are we communicating effectively? And if it's not engaging enough, then we know we need to tweak that. So that makes it actually a really good test. That's really encouraging. It makes me want to put more stuff on YouTube.
Absolutely. And the test is really, when you're watching your own videos, ask yourself, does this video currently bore me? And I actually do that constantly with my own content. I will watch it, think, if I sit here watching this 8-minute video, do I want to sit through it? If I can't do it for myself, then I know that my audience definitely can't either. So I usually just kind of, by default, I assume that my own videos are boring, and how do I make it more interesting for people?
Okay. What about things like the thumbnail or the title, and make sure the keywords are there? Are those just as important, or are they like a little bit lower ranked?
Absolutely. You hit it on the nail there, Carms, is that packaging is everything on social media in general, right? You can see this on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, the way that you're labeling your content, the way that you're getting people to want to click on it, to actually want to watch it, to entice them with that curiosity. All that's really important. So on YouTube itself, the way to think about it is your thumbnail is essentially the cover package, right? When someone's scrolling through their YouTube feed, or they're watching it maybe on their home TV, because nowadays obviously YouTube can be seen on anywhere on demand. Do they want to click on that video and watch it? And now that's the key test here. And obviously you won't get it right straight away. I think a lot of this comes from testing. And I always say in digital marketing, it's that testing mentality, right? You have to give yourself the ability to fail and then be able to come back and learn from that and use it in the next piece of content. So not every single video, especially on my channel, have done well. I'm sure for many other people on YouTube here agree with me on this, is that you will have those 1 or 2 that really take off. And that's where I really can learn from that and see, how do I replicate that to make it even more interesting for my audiences going forward? How do I learn from that thumbnail or that title? The other thing here is to think about, how do you use the effective hooks in the way that you structure your titles, right? So same thing goes with short form video content on social media. When you have a specific one-liner, for example, like, very funny hook that I'm sure you heard this before, I don't know who needs to hear this, but, right, that's a hook there, because again, it's a curiosity.
It's like it's like, yeah, curious thing. What do I want to hear about this?
Exactly. So it's about using kind of people's psychology, and how do you actually use that psychology to pique that interest for someone to want to actually click on it and watch it, right? So title and the thumbnail are very important there as a package.
Okay. When you talk about, being able to help people like sign up, click it, buy it, is that like a YouTube strategy, or it's like this whole big package of things?
Yeah, so I always say digital marketing is a bit like a buffet table. If you're coming to this table as a business, as a personal brand, whatever it may be that you're currently selling, you could be selling a course, you could be selling a program, you could be selling a physical product, whatever it might be, to think about it in terms of, what does my customer want and where they're currently hanging out? And that's how you can figure out how to use this buffet table to your advantage.
Yeah, because when I think of digital marketing, I don't even know what I'm thinking of. It's just like one giant bucket. So when someone tells me they do digital marketing, I'm like, but what do you really do? Like, which part of it? Can you tell me, like, if like I'm a small business owner and I'm coming over to you and go, I need someone to like help me build stuff that will people click on my stuff and like sign up and buy my thing. What is that kind of journey like, in terms of like your general roadmap for a small business owner? Can you give me a sense of that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we first would have that initial kickoff meeting where we really dive into everything about their business in terms of where their current existing customers are, and what their ideal customers are. Does it actually have an alignment there? And then we're looking to the channels that these customers could be currently hanging out on. Hence, I mentioned that very early on, is that you want to know who your ideal customers are, because there's so many options, right, on social, on digital channels to reach out to them. Now, as a small business owner, you don't have the resources to be everywhere all at once.
Yeah,
so what you want
it's
to do
so
is be very
hard.
strategic.
Except AI might make it a little bit easier because you can resize things quicker and things like that, which you could disseminate it faster now. But it's still difficult. That's why I can't get myself everywhere.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you mentioned that, Carms. I love it. Is that, you know, a lot of times I hear people talk about AI with this sense of fear, how it's going to take over our jobs, take over our futures. But I love that, you know, a lot of small business owners or business owners in general that I talk to, they're looking to use it as a way to enhance what they do, right? Because we can think about what's going to happen in 20, 30 years time, but nobody can predict that. But at the end of the day, it's about how do we use the next 5 to 10 years to use this opportunity to learn about the emerging technology as much as possible, and then apply into what we do, essentially scaling ourselves, right, to be multiple versions, a much bigger team than it could have been to deal with these things on digital marketing.
Yeah, what are like some really useful AI tool you would recommend other than ChatGPT and Midjourney, which is probably the only two I have been using and I have found them really helpful? Then my mind have just gone into clicking a whole bunch of other random ones. But I don't think I've found ones that I'm like, I'm really going to utilize this in my business. Do you have key ones that you have come across and you'll be like, man, if you're using this, this will really help your business scale?
Definitely. So I would say, like you mentioned earlier, repurposing content, that's a big one there. And I've been testing a few different tools in this area. So the one that I liked the most so far is video.ai. So video is spelled like VIDYO .ai. And what they do is essentially very similar to many tools like in this area do. They take your long form videos and they essentially take the little segments of it using AI to figure out which part of that video. So for example, for you, Carm, this could be really good because you have a lot of long form video podcast recordings, right? You can upload this in there and they'll take little pieces of this, that recording, take pieces of it out of it that could be socially shareable. So essentially that maybe a 30-second one or a 40-second one of that conversation. And then essentially you can reshare that by literally downloading it into a vertical format. The subtitles all done for you. And essentially straight away share it on Instagram Reels or let's say TikTok to drive audiences back to your main podcast. That could be a really interesting way there.
I'm going to do that for this podcast.
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah, please give it a try.
Like put it straight to the test, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, my only caveat about AI tools, and I tell this to everyone, is it's not 100% there yet. However, they are working on a lot of things to tweak in the background. But what's great about it now is that we should think of it as a way to get ourselves 90% of the way there. So same thing with ChatGPT or Midjourney, is that when you do create content on these platforms, they give you a nice prompt, initial draft to work with. So that a lot of times remove that writer's block, for example, on what to write today on your Instagram captions. Or for example, like that video that I was talking about earlier, the video chopping software, essentially that gives you a chance to see which clip could be actually worthwhile to share. Now, not all the clips work because sometimes there are some clips where you're like, that did not make sense, that clip there that you've chosen. However, I would say out of those 12 or 20 they create for you, at least 3 or 4 could be quite good. And that would save you a lot of time in having to go through, let's say, an hour-long conversation to find the little bit pieces that you can actually use on social. So just think of it as a way to enhance what you do, but there will be some human intervention involved, that last 10, 20% to give that human voice.
I'm really intrigued about this because I tried using this app called Munch and it was like doing something similar, except it wasn't advanced enough to kind of, it was still in development. So I haven't actually gone back to check how well it's doing now in terms of able to do that. So I might compare these two. But on the side, because I haven't found one that was able to help me, I actually hired someone to do it. So I'm like paying them like $1,000 or something, right, to do it. And I'm having just as much like headache with an actual person, right? Because the turnaround time is so slow. Like, you know, like I'll send him like, say if I send him this clip, it'll be like 1 week later, I might get something back. And then it still has typo in it. And I'm like, even when I do auto subtitle, I'm not getting these typo. And I shouldn't be the one pointing out the pointing out typos, and he would even get my name wrong and things like that. And it's like, this is not great. This is not a great experience. So I am very excited about this because AI is very smart, smarter than a lot of humans, right? So, and the turnaround time is really quick, and potentially a lot cheaper. So I'm very excited about that. Any other tools you would recommend at this point?
Yeah, another one really great for meetings. When you do jump on, let's say, group Zoom meetings, Firefly.ai, what they do is they jump in there as your background assistant. And what it does is that it takes notes based on every single person's speech. And then it'll send a note to you after. So you can choose to send it to everyone in your meeting if you want to, as a nice recap. And I think this has been really
Does it
helpful for me
summarize it
because
for you, or does it just capture everything?
I think it captures everything, but you could also, I think, tweak it to give you kind of an overall summary of the meeting. I think it's really helpful because instead of you having to take notes going forward, it just removes the whole entire, issue you having to write down notes along the way and having everyone there essentially available to just tap into the notes anytime. I think that was really
good
good
is
for
this? I remember back in the office when like my boss had to get me to take minutes. And I was like, there's no way I can like write that fast or type that fast. And then you miss things, and then it's like, oh man, what did that person say? And then you feel stupid to go and ask them because it's like you're at like a lower rank, and there's like, the senior manager that says something really important, and you're meant to put it into the action bucket, and it's like you missed that. It's like, oh man, this is not going to be a good minute.
Exactly.
Removes those problems. Not just for small business owner, right? This is like legitimately good for people working in the office.
Exactly. I just find that in general, like, a lot of these tasks that the way I see it, right, with AI is it will remove some jobs in the future in terms of our economy, but
Goodbye,
it will actually
PA.
remove a lot of jobs that are very repetitive, or things that people can actually now use their time to work on something that's much more, I suppose, human intelligence driven. Because I think human intelligence will never, be replaced in that sense, is that AI will take away a lot of the repetitive basic tasks. But I feel like the element of how we think and how we strategize and how we have our unique perspectives, that cannot be removed by AI, definitely.
Yeah. I know you also do like keynote speaking to a lot of known companies. How did you conquer the fear of doing the public speaking? Like I still find that really I still find that scary. Like because I think a lot of people go, oh, I would never thought you would be like scared about standing on stage doing talks or stuff because they see me on like videos and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but talking through a Zoom screen, it's a lot less scary than standing like in person talking to people. Did you have to conquer that fear, or were you natural at that? Any tips on public speaking?
Oh my gosh, Carms, you have no idea how I started. And yeah, I would definitely say I started off very much in that very similar mindset. I was extremely fearful. And actually, for a very long time, I remember even in high school, to get up there in front of an audience, to even do like recite a play or talk about my essay, my projects, that would just make me so shaken from the inside. And I would go up there and my mind would just freeze. So just for anyone listening on this, it's totally normal. And actually, a lot of times we will have to conquer that at one point. And you would never think about that now when you see, maybe me speaking now versus how it was back then. And a lot of it really comes down to practice. And, with anything in life, I think practice makes us better, but also it makes us more comfortable with that situation.
Okay,
For a
but
very long
how
time.
do you practice though? Are we talking about reciting the speech in front of a mirror, or can you break down how you actually practice, or did you like do a lot of Toastmasters?
Yeah, so you mentioned that Toastmasters is one of the places I got started first. So again, it's a very safe environment where you go in, everyone around you just want you to do well, and really kind of encouraging to go up there, even though you make lots of mistakes, you might get super nervous, start forgetting your words. But later on, I think what really helped is when I started doing it a lot more in the real world experience. So I started going to just meetups where they might be looking for someone to do a small talk to a small audience of one topic that I really know a lot about, which in this case was marketing. And I would go in there and I use that as a way to practice the way that I would speak. And actually, one of my first ones, I totally bombed because it was unintentionally a lot bigger than I thought it would be. It was about 120 people, my first official one that I was doing for a meetup. And I remember going there, I was thinking, there's too many people here. Like I'm just feeling, I was shaking from the inside. But that
Only
experience
from
gave
the
me so
inside
much
though, so
more.
nobody knew.
Well, to be fair, a lot of times I was just kind of forgetting my words along the way as I was talking, and I would forget things. But I realized one thing I realized, by the way, when you're doing that, your audiences don't know that you forgot it because they don't know what you're going to talk about anyway.
Mm.
So actually, in retrospect, you feel like you did a lot worse than you did in front of your audience, even though you didn't do that. So it's more of a psychological thing where we have this structure in our heads. We need to cover this, this, and this. But let's say you forget a portion of it, but your audience actually still thought the talk went well, even though you didn't, you thought you actually forgot about a lot of things. Because at the end of the day, they're there to hear what you're going to say, but they don't know what your structure is going to be, if you see what I mean. So if that does happen to anyone, just remember that, in your mind, you actually did a lot worse than you thought you actually did. So, from that point on,
So
as you
when
step
you
in front of the
said
audience,
you felt like you bombed on that first one, did you find out that in reality that didn't really occur because after the meeting you stuck around and you were chatting to them and then they come up to you and tell you, oh, that was great, or what happened? Or did you feel like you really actually bombed? Or was that just all in your head, like at that time?
I mean, I definitely think in reality, if I were to compare how I speak now versus how I speak then, I can imagine at the time I was a lot more, let's say, robotic in the way that I was, talking about my knowledge, but the way that I was on stage, like obviously body language is a big part of it. I'm pretty sure I wasn't doing a lot of body language I do now in person. So things like that, where I feel like I definitely have improved quite a lot since then. But that first one, I think I give it my best, to be honest, but I definitely, I'm pretty sure that it wasn't my best performance. And I'm sure the audience probably felt my nerves as well, because there are a few times when I was trying to flicker through the slides, find my points I'd forgotten. So, there are definitely bits of it where they can pick up that bit of it and they can tell that I was an experienced speaker. But at the same time, I think they were very encouraging because it's one of these meetups where people come together, they share a bag of crisps and they talk about what they're passionate about in marketing. So I find those
meetups are
environments to
pretty
be really
casual generally. Did you find that you had to approach like the organizer for that opportunity, or were you kind of just like tapped on the shoulder, like, hey, can you do this thing?
I was actually approaching proactively, and I recommend anyone to do that because when you first start out doing anything, it's going to be very rare that someone's going to come and tap you on the shoulder to actually invite you to it. But I find that with public speaking is one of those things where the more you speak, because when you are in a room with one to, let's say, many people, whoever it might be, 10, 20, 100, you never know who's actually listening in the audience. And usually at the end of the talk, this is two things that will happen. There'll be lots of people lining up to come and talk to you. And secondly, one of them will be inviting you to another talk, or maybe even more than that. So usually that will lead to more speaking opportunities, and that leads to more. So I think that's a great way to get started, is that you want to get yourself out there as often as possible. In the beginning, just kind of speaking for free at any kind of meetups, any places that are welcoming your topic or expertise, and then grow from there.
How did you conquer that fear though, right? That's a big thing though, knowing that you're going to put yourself out there, probably suck, but you're willing to go and ask for the opportunity to do that thing. Like, do you have this like battle thing in your head of like pushing yourself there? And how did you get yourself to do that? Like, did you have like a really big goal that you're like, I'm doing this for my business, I wanted to, I don't know, what was the thing that really drove you to conquer this? Because this is tough. Like, a lot of people want to get out there, want to be a speaker. A whole bunch of them in my community, right? Love to be a speaker, but then it's like, but how do I get myself out there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, for me at the time, it was probably more because of the PR opportunities, because when you speak, you're getting your business in front of more people. And I wanted to essentially spread the knowledge that I have, but also getting the sense of showing them what I can do, right? Because it's a free taster of who you are as a trainer, who you are as a digital strategist, because you're showcasing your expertise, you position yourself in that thought leadership position, right? Because when people come to see you talk, they see you as the authority. And that was really the driver behind that, is that I want to go out there, establish that brand and that authority of who I am. But I think from a sideways perspective, I realized that I was pushing myself in the comfort zone of getting myself in front of people and conquering that fear that I had for so long in public speaking. like many people do, right? Because there's two things I think in life that people are actually afraid of: death and public speaking, I think.
Yeah.
But I think for me, to do that, after that first experience, I realized, okay, I did this. I wasn't great at it, but I actually enjoyed that somewhat. And I thought, why not try it again? And I tried it again. Second time, I enjoyed it a little bit more. I feel like I got a little bit better because I started improving a bit more on the body language, the last one. And the next one after that, I started improving on the structure of my talk. So bit by bit, I started seeing a little bit of improvement each time. So what I was doing is every time I was doing one, at the end of it, I will have a post-mortem where I think about what are the things that went well and what are the things that didn't went well, and how can I improve on those things and do more of the things that did well. So each time I got up there, I think I got a little bit more confident from the previous one and a little bit more lessons from the previous one. So I kind of build up on it. And I think, there are many things in life where we should think of it in this way. So the more we fail, the more we actually learn from those failures, and then really using that as a way to get ourselves to be even better next time. Because how do you actually get better if you never failed? And I think that's one of the key things that really kind of stuck with me ever since I started doing public speaking. Not only from a business perspective, but really from a personal development perspective as well.
Yeah. So when like a client come up to you and speaking might be scary, going on video might be scary, do you find that when you're helping them get people to click their stuff, buy their stuff, they obviously have to a lot of the time show their face on it? Do you find that you help them navigate some of those fear as part of what you do? Or are they mainly kind of like filming stuff and giving them to you and then you transform it to something else? Can you tell me a little bit more about the service you provide to help someone grow their business or take them on that journey?
Yeah, so what I offer is one-to-one digital strategy clarity sessions as one of them, where essentially I will come together with the client to kind of go through everything they're feeling challenged right now in that 1 hour session, for example, on their business. And essentially, how do we then make those work better as a system, as a process, and also as a channel for essentially increasing the leads coming in or customers coming in, and how do we make sure they convert better on the other side as well. Now, the other side is also one-to-many training sessions. So this really comes back into my own personal passion back then when I was developing the Google program on helping people to kind of learn the digital marketing strategies and methodologies better on how to actually apply to what they do. So this could be either a group workshop, or it could be doing in person in London here, or it could be virtually online for my audiences, my newsletters, in my social media community, and for them to actually jump in and learn from that as a one-to-many experience. There's also in-house bespoke sessions that I do for corporates, for example, where they might have a marketing team currently looking to learn how to level up on LinkedIn, for example, which is a huge platform now for anyone looking to grow their B2B connections and also their B2B businesses. And that's another hot topic where I go in and essentially train the entire team on how to leverage, for example, LinkedIn organic social media, but also LinkedIn paid ads as well. So it really
Oh, I
varies
have
on.
not tried that. LinkedIn paid
Yeah.
ads.
My only caveat about LinkedIn paid ads is that you have to have a specific goal behind it. Is a lot of times it's a very expensive platform to be using as an advertising platform versus any other one. So Facebook, for example, just as a basis for you guys to understand, Facebook, on average, you can start with the lowest $5 or I guess £5, wherever you're currently living in the world, on a daily basis to get started. Whereas LinkedIn, sometimes on average, you're looking at per click of a cost about £4 to £5 or $45. So it really, varies very quickly depending on the industry you're targeting on there. But the key part of the benefit of LinkedIn is that you're targeting the specific job titles of those decision makers you want to actually talk to.
Okay.
That's powerful.
Yeah, that is powerful. Like if you can just aim it at all the CEOs or something like that.
Exactly.
Okay. That makes sense because on LinkedIn, it's usually high caliber people, right? Like people with professional titles and that they're on LinkedIn. So when you say, when coming to ads, if people were going to spend like $200, where should they advertise? Should they put that money? I know it's going to be a mix of like, where's your audience at, right? But assume it's kind of like a relatively general thing. Let's say it's like fitness, right? So which could be like YouTube, IG, Facebook. Where should they kind of put that advertising money?
Yeah, so a question that will kind of come back to this individual in fitness would be, for example, what's your current biggest goal? Are you looking to increase, I guess in this case, I'm assuming here, increasing the amount of clients coming into your
Mm.
fitness training company, right? So if it's for that, then we need to think about how do we build out a marketing funnel on the back of that campaign. Let's say for Instagram. So Instagram is very big on fitness. People obviously go there for lots of fitness inspiration. Then in that case, want to start first layer, which is at the very top of the funnel, where a lot of people don't know about you yet at this point, right? They might have never heard about your brand, they're completely new and cold. At this point, you might want to start layering on some brand awareness ads, where maybe it could be pushing out some of your fitness workout tips, the videos that you've done for Instagram Reels, and maybe start running some Reels ads to get more people to actually see that content. It could be in the in-feed as well, where it could be in-feed video or in-feed photo of you doing training, or sharing some training tips on the carousel. Some of these could be really great as a way to use content to build that brand awareness initially. And then another portion of that budget, we will then use it towards then showing some testimonials. Now we're going down the marketing funnel here where people are knowing a little bit about you. They came to your website. They maybe have seen you before on Instagram, maybe through your ads. At this point, you could show them some testimonial from your existing clients, because nothing sells better than social proof, right? And I think that could be a really great way to start getting people to know, oh, well, he has some great clients, or she has some great clients here that have said great things about them. And maybe I should check out their programs as well. So now they're considering you at that stage in this marketing funnel. Now, lower down that tier, which is now a little bit further, more narrow down the funnel here, we're going to be talking about how do we actually convert these individuals who are considering you. So maybe you could run an ad on a discount, maybe for the first session, half price off, right? So that really kind of nudged that audience who are now considering you versus other fitness trainers on making that additional level of that consideration of purchasing from you. So essentially booking you as a coach. And at that point there, and you can start running those discount or kind of promotion ads to those that have previously watched your videos for a long time. Clearly they're very engaged. For those that have actually clicked on the ads of your testimonial ones to see your website. So these are the people that you want to essentially collect into an audience where you know that they've shown that interest, right? They've shown that initial peak of interest that they want to actually find out more about you to actually then drive them towards buying. So this is how we would structure the ad structure from beginning to finish, because a lot of times people tend to jump to that sales part of the ads right away, because it's businesses, we care about sales, right? Who cares about brand awareness and all the other fluffy stuff? But a lot of this other stuff, I like to say brand is a bit like measuring love, right? You can't measure love, but brand is very similar to that people have this trust, like, known factor about you. So how do you then actually convert that love of you as a brand eventually to sales? And that's where we can use this kind of marketing funnel to think about how do we drive audiences from a top level down eventually to become your customer as well.
You know what I love about what you mentioned there? It's like probably for the first time, I'm actually understanding when you're saying it. So, and that has to do with like all the pixel stuff I've been like recently learning, right? Because like I think for a long time before, it's like I could run an ad, and a lot of people go, well, because a lot of people will just go, what do you think of ads? Like it's like, oh, I saw your ad, how's that going? It's like, well, there's running, because a lot of people go, oh, I've run ads, it doesn't work. I've tried all sorts of ads. Then I'm like, no, actually, I've tried ads too before, and it doesn't do anything because you're not tracking it properly. Whereas when you talk about it now, it's like, okay, I do follow what you're saying, because tracking it and being able to retarget, it can only work if you actually set up all the right tracking in place. And I think this is like the tricky part where new starters probably don't realize that, and it's like, okay, I'll just try and run an ad. And it's like, well, it doesn't work, but we don't know which part it broke. Whereas it's like, if we actually look at the data behind it, and I don't know if that's like from a financy background, it's like, we know the numbers and the data crunching stuff. It's like, that's what gives you the indicator for you to go back and go, well, where is it breaking? What do I need to tweak? So that's really insightful. Laurie, I know you also have a GIF for the listeners, which is around, is it like a social media content pack. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? What can they expect when they open this thing? Because I
Yeah,
haven't
so
opened it yet.
if you were download one for yourself, Carms, I think might really help you as well on that social planning side. So one of the biggest frustrations I hear from people coming to me, and actually any talks I've been to, is that now we have this plethora, right, of different channels to choose from on social. And people get really excited. They start registering an account on every single platform because they want to go out there and really promote themselves, which is fantastic. I love that. But a lot of them we don't realize is that for a lot of these bigger brands out there, they have a whole entire team essentially creating social on a 24/7 basis, content-wise. So what I really realize for our own businesses, our own brands, is that you want to make it as manageable for yourself as possible. And what I did essentially created a replica of the social media content planner that I used to use for myself, or still use today for a lot of my clients as well, is how do you plan your content effectively by using this planner, where you can then put in your different channels, your different content pillars, which you can see the more descriptions of what content pillars are on my YouTube channel. I actually have a whole video about it. Really kind of
Wait,
breaking down.
when you say that, is it like on that planner? Are there links for us to click in and go into the specific YouTube channel, or do we have to like search for it?
That's a great tip, actually. I will add that to my planner. That's a great point. So on there, there is a video that describes what the planner does in terms of step-by-step. In the planner itself, you can click on that and watch it. So really just to make it easy for you to kind of follow step-by-step how to use it effectively. But really, the planner there is to make more structure and workflow in your business. So that way social media does not become a time-consuming exercise, but actually becoming something that you can actually use to promote yourself for free. And that's what I always say about this, that do not make social media becoming the main thing in your business, because there are 1,000 other things that you got to do as well, but rather using it as a way to aid and enhance the way that you promote yourself online.
Do you find that you do your content creation, like, do you do this thing like, I just do it all in like 3 days for the rest of the month, or do you kind of like do it just consistently all the time?
I really believe in content batching, which is exactly what you said in the point one there, is trying to take a time, maybe even a weekly basis, right? Where you maybe have an hour, 2 hours free, let's say a Friday afternoon, or maybe a really quiet Monday morning, whatever that might be, to sit down and really plan out what you want to talk about on social for the next week ahead, maybe the week ahead after the Friday, the upcoming week, but really makes that easy for yourself, because as you're writing all this out in that 2 hour period, maybe it could be captions, it could be maybe your blog posts, it could be your video ideas. Once you've done that and actually capture it all, you now have the mind space, the free white space in your mind to actually do everything else in your business that needs to get done. Because now in the background, as you're working on this, you had to schedule out, you plan it out beforehand. That's actually going out on your social media scheduling tools, right? In the background on your channels. So you can actually do everything else in your business, but on a daily basis, just jump into social media, maybe just answer the questions, inquiries coming through, which, let's be honest, a lot of times that could lead to sales or clients. So those are actually really important things to do. But that could be maybe 10 to 15 minutes of your day. The rest of it, you're actually working on everything else that needs to get done. So I think that could be a really good way to make it manageable, make it more easier for you on an ongoing basis.
I know. Just hearing an expert talk is like, there's like all these things that I'm like, I know I should be doing, but I haven't. But I love this. This is gonna keep, like, I'm gonna download this thing, maybe get focused, get on track. Thank you so much for jumping into this. Just final thing is, where do people find Laurie? What's the best place to contact you if they want to know more?
Yeah, feel free to head over to my website at lauriewang.com. So you can also kind of find out all my social media channels on there as well. Kind of watch more of my YouTube videos. Feel free to check it out too. But yeah, lauriewang.com, you can reach out to me directly from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Carms.